Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 58, Talk of Fame podcast with your host, Kylie. I'm so excited to have on singer-songwriter and lifestyle blogger, Hannah Avison. Thanks so much for coming on, Hannah.
Yeah, of course.
You are a singer-songwriter. What made you want to start that and being in this industry?
So I actually started songwriting when I was really young. When I was 8 years old, I was bullied and kids wouldn't play with me on the blacktop. And so I would do crunches on the side of the blacktop because I was like an overweight kid and very self-conscious about that. And I would write songs in my head. And eventually I realized like I'm pretty good at this. I love doing it. I love writing songs. My parents, I'm very lucky, were extremely supportive, which it sounds like you have very supportive parents as well with your entertainment, the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I just continued doing it throughout middle school, high school, did like camps during high school, and eventually went to college for it and am now doing it professionally full time.
Oh, I love that. Did you realize, did you always knew you basically wanted to become a singer, or is this something that kind of you do for fun, or is like a hobby?
You know what? I probably was singing as soon as I could talk. Apparently, my first jam was "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and I would sing it for everyone. Shortly after was the Scooby Doo theme song, but it was always something like in the depth of my being that I knew I wanted to do. I'm very lucky that I knew from an early age that songwriting was what I wanted to do, and I was able to kind of just move towards that as I was growing up and have it grow with me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was when I grew up, I was always a very kind of shy, very like yeah, I dealt with anxiety my whole life, so I was always kind of scared to do things. My childhood wasn't easy because I was always around my parents and then do a lot of things with my anxiety. And since I was very shy, I did not talk to a lot of people. And so I was like, and then when I first kind of thought about starting this podcast last year, I'm like, how is a shy girl going to start a podcast? Like, how is a shy girl supposed to do this? But then, last year, I got over it. So a couple years ago, I got over it. But as time went on, I'm thinking to myself, I was a girl from how did a girl start from her childhood of being a very shy twin sister to a podcaster being in the entertainment industry? I'm like, okay, how is that gonna happen? And I knew since from an early age that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Kind of like you said before, you always wanted to become a singer since you're a kid. And that's kind of how I was, but I never knew what I wanted to be. So I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Nothing's working out. And so when I started this, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I guess. It's nothing better than doing a podcast. So I'm basically talking to everyone in the industry. So it's nothing better than that.
Of course. No, I think that even for myself, so outside of music, I'm also a content creator, and I actually hate being on camera. I overly judge myself even to this day. And that's something that I like to work on. And I think um, there's a big thing to be said about people who do things that help them face their fears, especially daily, and help them grow as a person. So being a shy person and putting yourself in a situation where you have to kind of be extroverted and talk to strangers, I think is really brave and really cool.
Thank you. And since you said before, I was always kind of bullied for being a girl that's in the entertainment industry. I'm sure this is for you as well, and everyone in the industry. You're always bullied for oh, you can't be a content creator, you can't be in the entertainment industry because you're a woman, or or they'll be like, oh, you can't do that. But that's the biggest problem is that who cares about what other people think? You know what I mean? It's who cares? You're your own person, and you shouldn't judge people for who they want to be. You just
Absolutely.
and you shouldn't let people change let your whole day down based on their opinions. That's what I personally think. But it's just for bullying itself, it's very hard in today's kind of world, and it's something we cannot change personally.
Of course. I think we can change it just by being ourselves and putting ourselves out there and showing that we women can. I think that especially in entertainment and in music, women are still very much a small percentage of this industry. And it's not for lack of trying. There are a lot of women out there trying to be songwriters, producers, engineers, artists, but there's a lot of blockades that keep them out of the industry. And so I think it's just about, if we want to change things, having more women invited into the room, into the studio, into the newsroom, whatever have you be it. I think that's how we move forward and we make this a more equal playing ground between men and women.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. So you're an advocate for songwriting rights for songwriters. Why is it so important for people to advocate for those rights?
So I think a lot of people don't know how broken the music industry is right now.
Yeah.
Songwriters, every time a song streams on, say, Spotify, the song has publishing. That's what the lyric and melody set is, the publishing. Every time that song streams, if you owned 100% of that publishing, you're only getting 0.0003 cents. That is it. And so here's the thing, you don't typically own 100% of the publishing. When I go into a room, it's usually with another songwriter and potentially like a producer. And so now let's just say that's it. That's the only people who own the publishing. Now we split that publishing 3 ways. So that's 0.003 cents split 3 ways. So if you had written a song that had 100 million streams and you owned 1/3 of that publishing, you've only made $6,000, which is not enough to live on. And not many songs get up to 100 million streams. So songwriters mostly make their money through publishing. We rarely get master, which is something that needs to change. And master is the sound recording. So like the entire song that was recorded, that specific song recording is the master. We don't typically get master. That would help us because there is more money in the master. And I think that will be changing in the next handful of years. That standard, but right now it's unsustainable to be a working songwriter. It's really hard to make money. Most extremely successful songwriters I know are living in poverty based on their songwriting income. And I would say 99.9% of all working musicians I know work multiple jobs just to continue being a musician. So it's kind of funny because you have to work multiple full-time jobs to be a full-time songwriter in the industry today. I'm an advocate for that because I don't think if you are working your butt off, you should absolutely be compensated and be able to have a real full life that is paid for based on your craft that you put all your time into. So that's why I'm an advocate. I just want to fix the system. So the next 8-year-old that wants to be a songwriter, it will be entering a field where they can actually make a living.
Oh, I love that. Like, what do you think, like, that people can help? I guess, like, older people that want to be in songwriting, like, how do you think they can help just kind of see change a little bit, help people get more money in what they love in terms of
So
songwriting?
great question. I'm a member of an organization called the 100%ers. You can find us on Instagram. We advocate for all these changes. Supporting this organization is a great way to help. There's other great organizations like Sona and the PACs. There's a lot of really great organizations that if you are outside of music, you can support. Telling your friends, not many people are aware at the situation at hand. I think they see, like musicians with their fancy cars and their great clothing and all of these beautiful things, and they assume that they make money when in reality, a lot of the stuff is borrowed. A lot of the stuff is secondhand. Like I, for one, do not own Chanel shoes, but I've borrowed them. So I think if we take away the glitter and the glam that is, the smoke and mirrors of it all, you would be able to see the truth about everyone in my field and like how we're actually doing. So just spreading the news, like we need to help songwriters. We need to make this a sustainable career for them because we love music as music listeners. So we want to make sure that we're supporting the people who have created the music of our lives.
100%. So you wrote a song called an Holiday Song. What inspired you to write that?
So that is the first song I've actually released as an artist. I've always been the songwriter, and that's where my heart has always been. But right before the holidays, I was walking down the street and I realized there is no song for those who have a hard time throughout the holidays, like a fun, cheerful, almost like camaraderie song. That's a little cheeky, a little Olivia Rodrigo. And so I wanted to create that song for them so they felt included in the holiday season. So if you have a toxic family or you no longer have ties to your family or you've recently lost a loved one, the holidays can be a really, really difficult time. So I wanted to make a song to make that person who had those experiences feel less alone. So that was the point of that song. I had a handful of people reach out saying that either they felt really supported by the song or someone they love really needed that song to help them get through the holidays. Because when you see everyone having happy holiday family times on the internet, it can get a little depressing. And I wanted to make sure that everybody had something to sing along to this year.
Oh, I love that. Like, but in terms of losing a loved one, I lost my grandmother back in like 2017, and like my every year since like she passed, my every like Christmas, it's always very hard for my family since like we used to have like Christmas at her house. Like it was a very important holiday for all of us. We used to have all these gatherings at our house. Like everything was at her house in terms of
Mm-hmm.
Christmas and like special events and all those things. Since she passed, it's always been like a very also hard time for our family since we're not doing it at our house anymore. We can't see her anymore, and so I can totally relate to that. These holidays are very tough without a loved one that you're very close to, and in terms of family, like it's very tough. And so like I really totally relate to that in terms of like losing a loved one or I can't see family in terms of like Christmas or any other holiday.
Absolutely. I'm very much, I love holidays. I will dress up. I will deck my halls. Everything will be super cheerful. But I wanted to acknowledge that, and this is okay, that the holidays, they can suck sometimes when you've lost a loved one or you have no relationship. And like just acknowledging, like, hey, it's not always like cheery and perfect. It can suck, and that's okay. That's an okay feeling to have. I think that was so important for so many people. And I wanted to be a part of creating that song for them to have.
Well, absolutely. So, do you have anyone that you look up to as a singer-songwriter, or just kind of in general? Do you have anyone that you look up to?
Absolutely. Well, in general, my mom is so resilient. She is somebody who has had so many obstacles in her life, and she's always found a way to make things work. And for myself, being a freelancer, being in an industry that does not pay very well, I've had to get really clever and smart about how to live my best life and to create the best opportunities for myself. So I really admire her, and I've taken a lot of notes from her book. But in the music industry, there are tons of writers and producers and artists that I am just bewildered by that give me that moment.
Mhm.
One writer that comes to mind is Julia Michaels. I think Julia is a phenomenal writer. Every time I listen to something new of hers, I just get excited because the concepts are amazing. If the World Was Ending still makes me cry like a baby. The one she did with JP Sachs, just because lyrically it's so conversational but intelligent, conceptually brilliant. I think we've all had that person that we can't be with, but like if it was our last day on earth, they would be the person we would spend it with. Just a very complicated, beautiful song. Sia is another one of my writing inspirations.
Mhm.
Chandelier, I will geek out on the
Mhm.
lyrics of Chandelier till the end of the day.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's just Olivia Rodrigo. Love Olivia. Loved listening to her last album. Again, another writer who I just had these like aha moments when she would say something, it would gut me. And mind you, like she's definitely closer to your age. I think she's like 17
Yeah, I think
now,
17 or 18 around that age.
17 or 18. So I am a good like 10 years older than her. But the fact that she could say something as a 17-year-old that I would feel so deeply as a 31-year-old, that's insane. Like I love that. So I think writing wise, those are probably my favorite ladies.
No, I love that. Like all of those people have been like around since me and you were basically little kids, basically.
Mhm.
And so like they impacted so many other people in terms of Olivia Rodrigo. Like in terms like she's only 17 or 18 years old, which she's already changing so many lives with her music. And she's been around for a couple of years with being on Disney Channel and all those things. I basically watched her before she became even really big like she is today. So I basically watched her. And so like it's in terms of like her making music that everyone's like jamming out. I heard she's going on tour and her tour literally sold out in like minutes, I think. Like
Oh, I
it's
believe it. Yeah.
and so like to think like personally to think that she's literally changing the world at 17 or 18 years old and like encouraged me so much to possibly other people to think like, oh, I want to make impact on other people like her. Like I'm only 15
Mhm.
years old and like 2 or 3 years younger than Olivia. And so like I am like, okay, like I want to do that. Like I want to be make a huge impact like she does. Like she's just a big role model for basically for anyone, no matter how old you are or what gender you are.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think that you're right. It doesn't matter how old you are. What it comes down to is being purposeful with your time and being resilient. And even if doors close, not getting mad at the doors that are closed and finding another one that's open. So just consistency in building your brand, creating your art, and never giving up.
For sure. So as we're kind of reflecting on the last question, if you could collab with any singer songwriter, who would it be?
Oof. You know what? I've been really into manifesting lately.
Mm,
I basically, instead of saying I want, I'm saying I'm going to. Even if it's not in the calendar, I'm just like, I'm going to do this. This is actively happening.
yeah.
The other day I said this year I will work with Lizzo. I think Lizzo is so cool, so authentic, so genuine, so girl power. So big into Lizzo. Obviously, Julia would be an absolute dream. Um, there's an artist, and forgive me if I mispronounce her name. She is so talented, named Tove Strike. She's Swedish. I saw her actually perform recently at the Peppermint Club here in Los Angeles. And she is just like on the nose pop magic. So it would be an absolute, like, I would be giddy. I would be so excited.
Absolutely. Like there's like I'm the same exact way. I'm like, I don't care, I'm gonna make this happen. Like I'm the same exact way. And like there's so many people I like to interview, but the people that like I'm like dying, like a goal dreams like Gina Davis, Hugh Jackman, Patrick Dempsey, Alan
Hmm.
Pompeo, Kate Walsh, and like Jennifer Lopez, of course. Because like they all are basically the inspirations. I just don't know. And I just sometimes I'd be like I would never be excited. Like don't get me wrong, I get excited for any interview, every single interview, but then if I interview one of them, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna lose it. Like that would never be so excited to remember. Then I'm at the end of the day, I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna let you know now. I'm gonna interview one of these people one day. So please help me out and help me get these people on for me, please. But then she's like, Kylie, I don't have connections. I'm like, well, make connections. I can't do this on my own. Like I literally like send emails and messages every single day. I'm like, can Gina come on to something, please? Even
You
if
know
it's
what, though, Kylie? I believe in you. I know that you can do it.
thank you. And I'm like, I would be like, can I please at least talk to one of them? Even if it's not for the podcast, can I at least talk to them for like 5 minutes, please? Is that a big deal? But there's something like that. Like it's not that like it's hard to figure out like if you want to make a collab with someone that's kind of big, like Julia Michaels and Liz and all those things. It's very difficult since they're busy schedules. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna interview them. I don't care. I really don't care.
Well,
Like
all
I
you have to do is keep honing your craft, keep building up your own brand, and eventually they're going to reach out to you. Like that's how it always works. The more that you put into your own art, people see that and they go, "Oh, I want to work with Kylie. Kylie's been on her grind. She's been doing all these fantastic things. I want to work with this girl and have an interview with this girl." So all you have to do is keep up with it.
No doubt, thank you. So since quarantine started back in 2020, how much do you think has changed in terms of songwriting since the pandemic started?
So great question. I'm lucky because I was writing virtually through Zoom and Google Hangouts prior to the pandemic, prior to the world shutting down, because I work with a lot of artists based out of the UK. So I was already used to writing in a virtual session. I know people can't see that I just did air quotes, virtual air quote session.
Mm,
Um, so I was already in the swing of things of how to make it work, writing and producing on my end and having the other person do the same and coming together. During COVID, obviously, we could not get into the same room and write, like go to the studio, be in there with different artists, producers, DJs, because it wasn't safe.
yeah.
So a lot of people went to this virtual model of songwriting, which is so cool and so fun. Just because I could literally be in my PJs at 7 a.m. Doing a session with an English artist who's in London, 8 hours ahead of me. And I could just do the session from my bed. It was very convenient. You didn't spend any money on gas, so that part was nice. And it allowed things to keep going. It was a different experience. I know a lot of writers, producers who just really prefer in person, which I think there's something magical about being in the same room as someone when you're creating. But it definitely created a different style of writing to keep things moving along.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when the whole world shut down back in 2020, everyone thought like, oh, this is probably gonna be like the flu. Like this is probably.
Oh yeah, we thought it was gonna be 1 week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be 2 weeks. Yeah, that's what I thought. We thought it was gonna be 2 weeks. I'm like, in my like I do online school, so I do like I only got 2 days off, and once I got the email that school was gonna be off, we got off 2 days by the way since we're online. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is pretty cool. I get days off. What's better than this? I deserve this right now. So then I'm like, when I go back, and then a couple weeks later, I'm doing school and I'm looking around. I'm thinking to myself like, oh, in the world is still happening. Cases are going up in like Pennsylvania. I'm living in Pennsylvania right now, so I'm like, okay, well, Pennsylvania is not doing too well. We have a lot of cases. One of the most highest cases in the country, I think. In like the whole East Coast, I think. So I'm like, okay, well, I kind of want to move, so I want to be here anymore. But it's like there's really no place I can easily move to because I think at that time the whole world was basically having it. So there's no way I can get rid of this. So basically, it was a very difficult time to think like, oh, I can't see my family, we can't leave the house, in terms of not getting people sick and getting our own life sick and for our safety and everything. So it was very tough. It's very hard to deal with since we couldn't live our lives like we used to, and we couldn't go to sporting events, concerts, and all those things. So I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do while I'm home? Like I'm bored. Like what world am I supposed to do now? Like just do school every now and then, or just go on a walk? Like what in the world am I supposed to do myself? I was like, okay, well, I might as well just sit in bed and lay down and watch TV. Who's supposed to put doing anything else? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think like the first couple weeks I was very much in the mindset of like, I guess we're just chilling for a bit and like enjoying time off and watching Netflix. And then being the type A Capricorn energy person that I am, I was like, okay, we're going to get on TikTok. We're going to create content. We're going to shoot at home. We're going to find unique ways to shoot photos at home. Did I talk to my cat more than normal? Yes. Was I losing my mind just a little? Yes. But I think the one like creatively good thing for people, I think across the board, or not even creatively, but growth wise, is that it's kind of forced most people to learn a new skill, learn a new trade, like whether that was cooking banana bread or learning how to produce. Like I learned how to vocal produce during the pandemic. I had already been doing a little bit of it. But it forced me to be like, okay, I need to be as independent as possible. And I have to be able to create my own recordings without the help of anybody else, because there's no one else here who can help me. And me knowing how to do this skill is going to get me more opportunities, which it has tenfold. Any people out there who want to get into music know how to know the business, number one, know how to produce, or at least vocal produce if you're a songwriter, because that'll give you more opportunities and more independence. And 3, like know how to work with people, because that is the name of the game. Like know how to like collaborate. But yeah, so skills during COVID, like the pandemic, where people were just learning new skills left and right, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't even be doing this podcast, to be honest with you. Like I'll probably be like, okay, well, I'm gonna do other things and podcasts on top of my mind. But then the pandemic hit. I was like, oh, why not start a podcast? I'm bored myself. I love the entertainment industry, so why not just start this for fun? And now I don't know what to do with my life right now, so I'm doing the podcast. And so, like you said, you used to talk to your cat. I'm the same exact way with my dogs. I used to go downstairs every 5 minutes and talk to my dogs because, like, I have nothing to do. So I'm like, I need someone to talk to. So why not talk to my dogs? So
Absolutely.
I'm like, I still do that, to be honest with you. I still do that.
Oh, yeah.
Just to kind of, like, blame my feelings on it. Like, hey, can you be my emotional support buddy for a second? But then, like, it's just, like, animals are a great way to comprehend with your feelings, what you're going through.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like I still had anxiety growing up. Like I didn't know how to comprehend my feelings when I was a kid, and like I didn't know how to kind of express them. So like the only way I can express myself is with animals, dogs. So I was like, my parents literally got me 3 dogs to help me with my anxiety because I literally begged my parents for a dog. Well,
that.
3 times I begged my parents for a dog, but
I was going to say 3 times.
3 times. So like I literally like it's crazy to think like how much animals can really change your life. Even though if you're literally angry, I'm like, I want to punch someone in the face right now. I'm just that angry. Then at the end of the day, when you look at your animal, you're like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore. Like it's just the little things that animals can do to make your life better. It's just nothing really better than animals. Like
Oh, totally. I mean, Dolce Cat is still my best friend and my constant snuggle buddy. So never underestimate the power of a great pet to get you through hard times.
No doubt. So the final question for the interview is, what is some advice for younger generations that like to be a singer-songwriter one day?
Okay, great advice. I've got a couple pieces, if that's okay.
Yeah,
first and foremost, keep on going. Music and the music industry and most creative fields, it's literally throwing things at the wall and seeing if they stick. And by that, I mean, you might come up with a project and you're like, this is the best song I've ever written. I love it so much. And it flops. And that's just how it is. Sometimes things just don't click, which can be kind of heartbreaking, but you have to like kind of throw those feelings back and say, you know what, I'm going to keep creating and creating and creating and not give up. It's about consistency. It's about resilience. And it's about just going and going and going. It's not for everybody, but if you are able to continue creating no matter what, you will be successful. There is no doubt in my mind. It's just about finding your place and being consistent. My second piece of advice would be to be yourself. Authenticity reads in a song, when you're interviewing, when you're yourself, people fall in love with that. There's a million versions of blank influencer or blank actress. And people aren't like, I remember when I first started content creation, I was trying to be like this, like, I'm a content blogger. Like I'm, drink this with water with lemon and like all this stuff. And I wasn't speaking with my authentic voice. And as soon as I said, you know what, my authentic voice is kind of sarcastic and kind of dark and kind of like ridiculous. Like when I started being who I am with my friends on the internet, people were like, oh, like this is Hannah. We like her. So same thing happens with music. When you're writing a song, put a little bit of yourself in there. Being yourself through music it reads as authentic, and people will like it. People will latch onto it and be like, that is something I can relate to. That is something that I feel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like how it's something I kind of struggle with as well. Like I was like, for growing up, I always kind of struggled to be popular and probably be known and make a lot of friends with my brother, because I was always known for being my brother's twin sister, because I'm a twin sister. So like I was always known for being a twin sister. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to be known for being a twin sister. Like that's like I want to be something. I want to be something different than being a twin sister. And I don't want people coming up to me and be like, hey, are you Chase's twin sister? Or like something like that. I'm like, I don't want to be known for that. Like, yes, I'm Chase's sister, but at the end of the day, like, I don't want to be known for that. And so that's something that really encouraged me more with the podcast. Is like, I don't want to be hard for being known for a person that does a podcast and being in the entertainment industry that basically inspires younger people. And no matter how old you are, just not to give up on your dreams and just keep going, no matter what you're struggling with, just keep going. Yes, that was my own struggles before I even started this. I still am. But still, at the end of the day, if you really want to work hard and try to not be known for something, then you need to work really hard and not be known for that, no matter what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that, Kylie.
Thank you so much. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so great to speak with you. You're amazing. I had such a blast interviewing you, and we'll definitely speak soon. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely, Kylie. Thank you so much for having me. And you've got a really great podcast here. And I'm so grateful that you're inspiring younger generations to be themselves and shoot for their dreams.
Of course. Thank you so much. Right back at you. We'll definitely speak soon. For sure.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, girl.